Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Mary. I like to do videos on makeup, fashion, lifestyle. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with this channel, but there's more than 200 of you now subscribed, so thank you so much for that. Really happy to see anyone subscribe. This is a hobby for me, so it's really fun to see other people kind of getting interested in it. And I really enjoy YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube, so I like to make YouTube videos. And I didn't post a video last weekend because I was in Miami for work. It was not an expected trip, but it was a lot of fun. I had a great time. I did have a little bit of time, about half a day, to do some touristy stuff, which I've been to Miami before, but it's been a while. So I went to the Vizcaya Museum, which is incredible. Talk about a dream house. If I could live there, I would. And then I also went to the beach for a little bit, but it's kind of smelly from sargassum seaweed, which is a little stinky when it gets on shore. So just a heads up if you're going to Miami. It wasn't too bad though. It was nice to be near the ocean and I had a great time. But where I was staying did not have a working blow dryer. So that's actually what my husband suggested to make this video about, is how to fake a blowout with a curling iron, which is what I had to do. So this is the T3. It's actually a lot easier to use. I was just distracted. But yeah, you click it out and you have different barrels, and I'm using the larger barrel that came with my set. This is expensive, but if you are looking to upgrade, or you really want something nice, I would suggest this set because it is a pretty good value. Basically, it comes with the base, and then you get 3 different curling iron barrels, and I'm using the bigger one for this, but there's all sorts of like barrels that you can buy for it. So I think it's a pretty good deal, all things considered. But when it comes to this sort of thing, like, I wouldn't say go out and buy it unless you are looking to upgrade. Basically, try not to encourage people to spend needlessly. I usually put it about half the way, a little over half. There's 5 little levels for heat, so I put it on the 3rd. As you can see, this is my hair when I haven't blow dried it, and it is very book Hermione Granger instead of beautiful movie Emma Watson. So I have very wavy hair, and I have hair that frizzes pretty easily. But the good news is I get a lot of volume without trying. But this is how I would do my hair if I don't have a blow dryer available. Typically, I will blow out my hair, and that will last for a few days. I only wash my hair like once or twice a week. And it's usually once a week. I have dry hair. I don't need to wash it that often. But yeah, so let me show you what I do whenever I am too tired to blow dry it or blow it out, or just didn't have the ability to. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So the first thing I do is I start at the bottom, and what I'm going to do is kind of have a somewhat thin section of hair. And since I have a lot of hair, it's not particularly thick, the strands, it's fine, but I just have a lot of it. Like, I usually do like 3 or 4 sections, sometimes more than that. And I like to start at the bottom. And basically what I'm doing is just trying to mimic what a blowout does. So I use, relatively small sections, and you can just hear, how my hair is. It's a little dry. It's kind of hard to style. So what I like to use is I always have a clip to keep it clipped up. And then I use these kind of duck clips. They're in a little baggie here to keep them all together. But these are great when I'm not dropping them. These are the best for just clipping your hair. So we're going to go ahead and start. I'll show you kind of the general idea of how I do this. And then we're going to quickly go through. I'm going to kind of just, and fast forward through the actual process of how I do my hair, because it's not that exciting. But basically what I do is I take this, start in the middle, and then I gradually get the ends in. And what I like to do is curl under, and sometimes I fail at that part, but I like to curl under because that kind of gives me that blowout look without the blowout. So I usually hold it for, a few seconds, about 5 to 10 seconds. Then I let it go. And before it cools completely, what I like to do is clip it. Clip it under. And basically, I'm going to do this over my entire head. This is what gives me kind of the smoother curls that I want, sort of from, you know, what you would get from a blowout, that smooth look. And that's why I use the larger curling iron. I think this is like 2.5 inches. I'm pretty sure it might be 3. No, I think it's 2.5. But anyway, I like to use that larger barrel to kind of give me that smooth look. You know, when you're using a smaller barrel, it's going to give you kind of more of a ringlet, which is fine. That's pretty too. But you know, in this case, I just want something smooth that looks like a blowout. So here we go. Just make sure I've got the ends in there because you want it to be smooth, and that's one of the main issues I have with my hair, is that it does not want to be smooth even when it is curly, or even when it's its natural texture. And so do this. So just clip them under, almost like a pin curl, but not quite, because it's, you know, I'm trying to have a little bit of air in it. It's not quite as tight to the head as a pin curl. And basically I'm going to do this for my whole head. So we're going to do that, but it's going to be fast forwarded from this point on. Okay guys, so I've got kind of the bottom sections done. Just remember to curl under, and you're gonna let this set, but I'm gonna do something a little different with the top section. So basically with the top section, I'm going to use one of these for my bangs, and I really, really love how Velcro curlers make my hair look. And if you really want, you know, a very smooth kind of like blowout look, you're going to want to use a whole set of these. However, they do, as you can see, you're going to have a little bit of hair that gets kind of taken out by these, even if you're super gentle, especially if you have hair type like mine, you know, really fine hair. For this video, I'm not going to use that method. Also, I have a lot of hair in my brush, so I'm trying to kind of deal with that right now. But basically, what I'm going to do for this top section is I am going to be curling it as well, but I am going to kind of use sort of like a larger, I don't know, a larger section while I'm doing it, mainly because this is where the volume is, and I'm going to kind of curl it in a different way. And this is always fun because I end up looking like Cousin It. And basically what you're doing is taking somewhat larger sections. It doesn't have to be a huge section. I think this might be a little big. I think let's see if it can actually fit the whole curl. And you're just gonna curl backwards like this. And it looks a little ridiculous. It feels a little ridiculous, but I think it gives you that lift and kind of really, this is one of those things like on the top section that gives you that sort of definite kind of blowout look that you're not going to get if you don't do this. So what I do is kind of just very quickly before it cools, kind of just roughly curl it back. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, if you're having your hair done by a professional, you know, for like waves, like Hollywood waves, or just in general, like having your hair curled, you know, their sections are going to be a lot neater, a lot prettier, and you're going to kind of get just a better look. But in this case, you're just trying to mimic a blowout. You don't need anything super fancy. And I have layers now that I didn't have until recently. I just had a haircut, so I'm still trying to figure out how to do everything. There we go. Okay, so for kind of the top two sections, what I'm doing is, I don't even know how that happened. Is that still okay? What I'm trying to do is make sure it's smooth, and this is what's going to give you that blowout look. Not sure if I'm really describing this well. So you hold it for about 10 seconds, give or take. And you can tell I'm getting sweaty because I'm shiny as can be. I did not powder today because I'm just doing this video. All right, so you have this. I like to keep it together instead of letting it separate. And once again, just kind of roll it back and then pin it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to stay. I think in this case I'm going to use 2. All right, then it's time for the bangs, which in my case are kind of like sort of curtain bangs at this point. I recently had my hair cut and I had a few inches taken off because my hair had been really long. And I do like to curl this under. So my hair was really long from, getting married. And basically I just wanted something a little bit kind of easier for summer. So I did have a few inches taken off the bottom. And then I have bangs now, which I love, but they do require a little extra styling. So I like to use a Velcro roller for my bangs. And here it is. This is what you have to do to kind of get that blowout look. And you just give it a few minutes, you let it set, and I'll be back once that's done after this is cooled for about 15-20 minutes. All right, guys, so I'm going to start taking these out from the bottom to the top, and this is pretty easy. You just want to wait until everything is cooled down enough. What you did with the curling iron has set. It does look a little ringlety, but once you kind of brush it out, it'll look a lot different. And I like to just kind of take everything out at once. Usually there's no need to kind of brush out the sections individually. And yeah, so this is pretty easy. Sometimes things get a little tangled if you're not super good at sectioning. So just a heads up there. But you can kind of just work with it. You just want to be gentle when you're taking these out. And if one is caught, usually if you take the one out that's next to it, it'll make things a lot easier. So and the bangs, and then you give yourself a good pat to make sure you got all of them out. And I part down the middle. This looks hilarious, but I part down the middle, and basically I just try to kind of start at the very top a little bit and kind of get that part going. And then what I do is I go from the bottom up, and you just want to be gentle while you're kind of combing this out. And I have dry hair, so sometimes it sounds terrible, but my hair's fine, I promise. I usually end up with it on one side, and I like to kind of grip in the middle while I'm brushing out my ends. That way I'm not doing any damage. Once again, you just want to be gentle with your hair, and really just brushing it out a lot is what's going to make the biggest difference. And in the case of your bangs, like you kind of you end up wanting to like flatten them down a little bit in the front. A lot of times if you just kind of like mold your hair, it's going to do what you want. And if you notice, I didn't really use any products in my hair. I don't typically use products unless I'm blowing my hair out, and even then I don't use a ton. I might use a little bit of mousse just to kind of keep things comfortable and staying in the direction I want them to. Another thing I will use is a little bit of hairspray to finish this off, but that's about it. I don't really like to use a ton of products other than like leave-in conditioners and that sort of thing that keeps my hair less dry. And when I use dry shampoo, what I'll do is I'll put it just at the roots and then go to sleep. And that's the best way to use dry shampoo, in my opinion. But this is kind of the look you get. It looks a lot more like a blowout than the mess I had before. And this will last for a few days. A lot of times I'll just kind of put it in a big bun on top of my head when I go to sleep, wake up, and I've still kind of got that blowout shape that I had before. So this is how I like to do my hair whenever I go to sleep. Or, well, I don't like to go to sleep with it wet, but if I don't blow dry it, this is, I think, the best way to kind of fake a blowout. It's just nice, big curls, and in my case, you can kind of see those layers coming out. I'm still learning how to deal with these because they are new to my hair, but I like this technique a lot. I think it works really well. Hopefully you can use it too. And obviously I'm not a professional at doing hair. This is just kind of a, I don't know what I'm doing tutorial. But I think, seeing how real people's hair looks when they try these techniques is great, because obviously if I went to my hairdresser and had her do it, it's going to look amazing. But I don't have her every day. So I like to figure out how I can personally make my hair look nice. And I have challenging hair. It's very dry and frizzy, and it can be hard to do. So in this case, I like this technique for faking a blowout. And you can always touch it up with your curling iron if you need to. But this will last me for a few days. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, I try to put as much information as possible in the description box. But if there's any kind of video you want to see, let me know. Happy to take requests. And I'm going to try to upload a little bit more often. I know I haven't been the best at it the last couple of weeks, but thank you guys for sticking with me. And thank you so much. Feel free to subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Bye.